Hey, it's Julian Gordon here from the Multifamily Movement, and today I want to show you how to identify whether a multifamily property that you find on Trulia, Zillow, or Redfin, or an off-market deal that you get is actually a deal. I'm going to show you how to run the numbers. A lot of people think that if the rents are greater than the mortgage, then that's a deal. That is not a deal. It is way more complex than that. There's actually 23 numbers that you need to know to effectively evaluate a multifamily real estate deal, and only one of them is actually on Trulia, Zillow, or Redfin, and that is the price. The other 22 numbers, you have to know what they are, where they are, how to find them, and how to verify them to make sure that you don't step into a bad deal on your first multifamily real estate investment. And in fact, I'm going to give you this spreadsheet, which is called the Purchase or Pass Deal Analyzer. It's a financial model that I use to evaluate every single deal that I do. And I'm actually going to give it to you when you go to the URL below. That's multifamilymovement.com/deal analyzer. You can literally get this tool for free. Today, we are going to analyze the deal of the day, and I found a deal that just came across my desk today, and I want to walk you through the Purchase or Pass Deal Analyzer using this particular deal. So not only do I want to give you the tool, I want to show you step by step how to use it. And we're going to go through all 23 numbers and some to make sure that you understand how to do this the right way. So this is the Purchase or Pass Deal Analyzer, and the first and foremost, we need to come down here and we need to identify a little bit about you in steps 13 and 14. So what market are you looking to buy in? So in this case, we're going to do Atlanta. Then you put your credit score. And then if you're a renter, you put your current rent. If you are a homeowner, a single family homeowner, then you'll put your mortgage, because ultimately we're trying to get rid of your housing expense by having passive income come from your real estate portfolio. I've helped over 900 people close on their first multifamily home. Together, me and my students have bought over $350 million worth of multifamily real estate. And this is the exact tool that I teach them how to use. So again, you can get this tool for free right now when you go to multifamilymovement.com/deal analyzer. And now let me just move forward and continue to walk you through it so that you know how to use the tool and you can get better and better at it. So you're going to start at step 13. We need to know a little bit about you, your gross income. That'll actually break it down into monthly, and then your current cash savings, right? So you only gonna touch the orange cells, okay? You will not touch anything else. Everything is already hard coded. One of the reasons people don't get invested in real estate because they don't feel that they're good at math, right? And so you don't have to be good at math here, because the spreadsheet in the financial model is gonna do all the calculations for you, all right? Now, here, you also need to put in your monthly debt payments because we need to calculate your DTI. We have to see if you're even able to afford this property. So your first home monthly mortgage payment is going to go here. Your student loans will go here. Your car note will go here, credit cards and other debt payments, okay? Because your debt to income ratio, you're going to have your front end DTI and your back end DTI, which is your debt to income ratio. And the banks will lend to you based on whether or not you fit within that. So the front end is just the mortgage on this property alone. The back end is the mortgage plus all of your other debt payments. And in this case, this person has a $1,603 additional debt payment on top of the mortgage that they're about to get when they acquire this multifamily home. But if this is actually a deal, they shouldn't have to come out of pocket because the rent should actually cover most of the mortgage, or not all of it, right? And we want to have cash flow. So the rent should cover the mortgage and some. Now, the bank's typically going to give you for a cash out refinance, is about a 75% loan to value ratio. That's what LTV stands for. Then we have the front end debt to income ratio. They typically want 31% on the front end and then 43% on the back end. So again, the front end is your mortgage only, and then the back end is your mortgage plus your other debt payments here. All right. And then we want about 6 months reserve once we acquire a property. That's your savings. And then the rent revenue adjustment by the banks. What many people don't know is that when they buy multifamily real estate, the banks will literally give you credit for 75% of the annual rents that you're going to get from that property once you acquire it. So let's say a property has $4,000 a month in rents, that's $48,000 for the year, right? Times 75%, that's $36,000 in rental income that the bank will add to your W-2 income today and qualify you based on your W-2 plus that $36,000. This is why you're able to buy more real estate when you buy multifamily, because of the rental income adjustment. So I need you to start here and fill this out in steps 13 and 14. because that's going to let you know if you can actually even afford this property. You see here right now, this person cannot afford this property. So it's saying no. Can they make the down payment? It's saying yes, but that's based on this dummy data that's here. So now let's actually look at this deal that came across Trulia in today, okay? And it is a fourplex for $1,450,000. Now, I know this market really, really well. I'm almost certain that this property is not going to cash flow, because in multifamily real estate investing, we have something called the 1% rule. And the 1% rule states that your rental revenue, your top line rental revenue, your gross rental revenue must be at least 1% of the actual price per month in order for it to even be a deal you should consider. So 1% of this means that you take off 2 zeros, right? You take off 2 zeros, and that's saying that the rental revenue for this fourplex should be $14,500 per month. $14,500 per month, right? And so if we do 14,500 divided by a fourplex, that's saying that the rents for each unit should be $3,625 per month. And I know that there's some beautiful, beautiful apartments with a doorman, elevators, views, etc., that don't even charge $3,600 a month in Atlanta. So I'm already certain, just because of how much I've done this and how well I know this market, that this property is not going to cash flow. But the point of this video is to really show you how to use the purchase or pass deal analyzer so that you can verify for yourself. Okay, so this is the deal that we're looking at, and I'll actually open it up. And let's just look at it really quickly. So it's 3205 Briar Cliff Road, Northeast. They want 1.4 million for it. It's 8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms. So if we know that it is a fourplex, right? Actually, how do we know it's a fourplex? Because it said quadplex right here. If we know that it is a fourplex, then that means that each unit is likely, and based on what we see in these pictures, each unit is likely 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, right? And so you can even look at the pictures. They don't have any interior pictures, but you can see just based on the layout that it's probably going to be 2 twos, okay? And they might even said that here. Yeah, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, each unit, okay? So the only number that Zillow really gives us, or Trulia gives us, they're actually the same company now, is this number. So we're going to copy this number, and we're going to go back to the purchase or pass deal analyzer, and we're going to put that in here. I'm also going to take the listing URL, and I'm going to put that here, and then I'm going to grab the address too. I'm going to grab the address, and I'm going to paste that here. So again, we only touch orange cells when using the purchase or pass deal analyzer. All right. And again, you can go grab that at multifamilymovement.com/deal analyzer. So that URL should be below. All right. So this is the listing. Not too many pictures, not too much detail, and now we need to keep on going. Now, what other numbers might be on Trulia and Zillow? Sometimes they give you tax information, but I'm going to show you why this $9,000 in taxes is actually wrong, right? This is from 2023, and it's based on an assessed value of $450,000, but they want $1 million more than that. So they want 3 times that. So guess what's going to happen to the taxes once you acquire it? It will get reassessed once you acquire it. And while the year that you have it, if you're like buying in the middle of the year, yes, the taxes might stay at $9,000. Where is that again? Right here. But when it gets reassessed next year, guess what? This assessed value is going to go up to $1.4 million. And since that the price is actually triple, then these property taxes are likely also going to triple. So that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make when running the numbers on a multifamily real estate deal, is that they don't adjust the taxes based on the new price that they're about to buy the home at. So this is why, even though this number is here on Trulia and Zillow, we don't use it, because it's based on the price that they bought it at, or the last assessment, which is not accurate, okay? Besides that, Trulia, Zillow, Redfin, they don't give us any other data. And like I said, there's 23 numbers that we need to know to evaluate a multifamily real estate deal in the proper way. The next number is actually the down payment. And if we're going to use FHA, which is the government loan, we're going to pay 3.5% down, 3.5% down. Okay. Now, there are other loan programs out there, but this is one of my favorite ones. There's also the FHA 203K loan, which allows you to rehab a property. But we don't know about the interior of this property. And if they want us to rehab it on top of the $1.4 million, then we already know it's not worth it. So the down payment is, let's just say it's going to be 3.5% because we're going to use FHA. Okay. Now, what's the next number that we need to know? The next number we need to know is actually the interest rate. And the way we get the interest rate is we actually go to our lender. We say, look, I found a property that I'm interested in and I want to get pre-approved for that property. And based on my credit and things of that nature, how much will you loan me, right? Credit and income, how much will you loan me? And what is the current interest rate? Now, the way we can get in general, just to run the numbers really quickly, we can go to Google and type mortgage interest rates today. And then you can go to Bankrate or Freddie Mac. They usually come up first. And what you'll see is that for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, we're at 6.87. So we'll use that for today. Okay. And that number changes. So you always want to check in on that. And it's usually for 6.875. Okay. So we're going to put that in there. The terms are 30 years and 30 years is 360 months. All right. Now, closing costs, we just use a back of the envelope number, which is around 6%. Perhaps your closing costs can be lower. The seller may pay some of your closing costs, but in general, closing costs are going to be for your real estate agent fees. It's going to be for the title company. It's going to be for your appraisal and things of that nature. Okay. So, and your inspection. So these are closing costs, right? So we just put 6% for that. That's fees up front. So the total closing cost with this 3.5% down, which is a $50,000 down payment, plus 6% of the price, right, is going to be $83,000, right, or $84,000, because 3.5% plus 6% is 9.5% of the total price is going to be your closing costs. All right. So now we're going to keep on moving forward. Next is home inspection. And so for a fourplex in Atlanta, and people's prices differ, I would probably put something like $800 for an inspection. But I always tell you to call at least three contractors and get quotes. But remember, once you go under contract, that contract, you might have a 7 to 14 day due diligence period. So you might find somebody with a lower price, but they can't come out until 2 weeks, right? Because they're so busy because they have lower price. And so that's going to shorten the amount of time that you are able to do due diligence and actually do your property inspection response. And so you want somebody who's good and who can move quickly so that you have a longer period to get your contractors in there and give you assessments on what it's going to cost to actually fix up that property or get quotes to actually get the price reduced. Okay. So this is your home inspection cost. All right. Then the next thing, and this is one of the hardest ones right here, is our annual property tax override. The reason we call it an override is because we're not going to use the property taxes from here, okay? Because these property taxes are based on their last assessment. It will not be your property taxes going forward, right? So what we have to do is we have to go find the county that this property is in. Originally, I thought it was Fulton County, but when I put it in the property search at the assessor's office for Fulton County, it didn't come up. So you say, what county is this address in? Okay, and here you see DeKalb County. All right. So then what you're going to do is you're going to do DeKalb County Assessor's Office or property search. Okay, and this is what comes up here. You click agree, and that puts you here. And of course, what do you do here? You put in the address. So 3205 Briar Cliff Drive northeast. I think it was northeast. Yes, northeast. But actually, I don't see northeast coming in the pull down. So I'm going to leave it like that and search and see what happens. All right, so nothing came up. This was the issue that I had when I first tried. All right, so what I had to do was what I did was a map search. So let me show you. What I had to do was a map search. And so I clicked here. I clicked map search instead. And I went to Google and I said, where is this property? So I put the property address in at Google and I zoomed in, right? And so now I see it's to the left of 285. It's off of 85. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find it on the map search. So I'm going to take this map and zoom in. Normally the address comes up, but for whatever reason, this particular property didn't come up. All right. So I'm looking for 285 and 85. All right. Looking for 285 and 85. All right. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so this is 285 and 85. So remember, here, you see this? You see this shape here? I'm starting to see that shape right here. Okay, now where is the property? It is right here in between these points. So I'm going to, it looks like it's right here around this curve. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in there around 195. Okay, and so now I see Briarcliff Road. Okay, I see Briarcliff Road. So I'm going to zoom in here. All right, so it looks like it's just right up here. I see these 3 streets that look like fingers here. Normally you don't have to do this, okay? But because the address was not coming up in the regular search, we're doing that. And so where do we see those 3 fingers? You see those right here. And that is, here it is, right here. Watch this, 3205 Briarcliff Road Northeast. All right, so now we've identified the property. Again, normally the regular search will pick it up, and it even says 3205 Briarcliff Road Northeast here, but when I put that here, the search didn't come up. So now we want to go look at the data. So it gives you data about who owns it, the address, their mailing address, and then what we're looking for, right? If we go back to the purchase or pass deal analyzer, we're looking for the tax override, right? We know it's not $9,000. We know it's not this $9,000, or it's not going to be a year after we buy it because they're going to reassess it. A sale typically triggers a reassessment. So what we want to look at, right? What we want to look at is the 2004 taxes, right? Because if we go back to Truly and Zillow, it says these are 2003 taxes, right? We want the most recent. So we click here, this comes up, right? And what you'll see is, oh, you see this 450? That was right here, 450, 600, okay? 450, 600. You see that? That number pulled. But look at this, the current year fair market value, 1.4 million. Now, the assessed value is not always identical to the price. Appraisal price and the assessed value, they may be similar, but they're not identical. The assessed value comes from the city. The appraised value comes from an appraiser or the market, okay? And so now you see that the 40% assessed value, 40% of the assessed value is going to be $559,000. So we can assume we take this 450,000, right? We take our price of 1,450,000, and we divide it by the last assessed value. We see that that's about 3.2 times greater, okay? The last assessed value, right? And the price that we're about to pay, or we're probably not going to pay because this is likely not a deal. And then we saw that the taxes at that 450,000 number was $9,000 a year. So we want to multiply those $9,000 in taxes by 3 times. And so our new taxes are actually going to be around $29,000 per year. $29,000 per year. So if you would have bought this property based on the old taxes, you might have thought it was a deal, but then within a year, all of a sudden your taxes shoot up, and all of a sudden you realize that your property is no longer cash flowing. Because if we divide this by 12, your taxes just went up. Your taxes are going to be $2,426 a month for this property, right? And we know that that's going to probably create some issues in terms of cash flow. So I'm going to put that $29,000 right here. Now the building value, we'll put the price because it's going to get reassessed. The land value, decal does not break out the land value. Ultimately, we need that for, you can call and get it, but ultimately we need that for the depreciation because land does not depreciate. So let's just say that the land value is, let's say the land value is 300,000. So what that means is if the land value is 300,000, then you'll be able to depreciate $1.15 million over 27.5 years, and you'll get a tax deduction for that. What do I mean by that? Okay, so we're going to take this one. If we were to buy this property and the land is 300,000, land does not depreciate, that's going to leave us with $1.15 million. Now, you get to depreciate this property over 27.5 years. So you're going to get a tax deduction of $41,000 or about $42,000 per year. You'll get to write off. You'll get to write off $42,000 a year. And if you're in the 25% tax bracket, that's going to save you over $10,000 per year in actual tax savings because you own this property. Okay, so these are some more complex things. I teach these things in my program, but I'm just showing you really quickly as we go through the purchase or pass deal analyzer. So you see that 27.5 years right here. Okay, you see that 27.5 years here. All right. So some other assumptions that we have is that the property is going to appreciate by 3% per year. That's the average appreciation rate for real estate. Right now I have you in the 28% tax bracket. And then our rents are going to grow by 3% per year, but also our operating expenses like property taxes, insurance, contractors, etc. All right. So other numbers, appraised value, we'll just say that it appraised at that. You'll get the appraisal once you actually, the bank will have you get an appraisal once you get financed, right? And we already talked about those things, all right? So moving on. Now, how do we get the rents? So there's a couple ways to get the rents. One, we asked the seller, what's the current rent? And we asked them to show us their rent roll over the past, we call it the rolling 6 or the rolling 12. Show me the rent rolls, right, over the past 12 months, right? All right, how's the vacancy? Are units vacant right now? We need to know these kind of things. But even if we get that from the seller, right, that only shows us the rents that they've been charging. That might not be the rents that the market is charging. So a tool that we use is called Rentometer, all right? So Rentometer, there is a free version. And so what we do is we put the address into Rentometer. Then I'm going to select 2 bedrooms, right? And 1.5 more bathrooms. And we're going to check the rent. And Rentometer, when you have the an actual account, it breaks this down for you. You can actually view the pro report, but we won't do that right now. It's going to give you the 25th percentile. It's going to give you the median and average, and it's going to give you the 75th percentile. I usually use the 25th percentile when I'm running my numbers, and the reason why is I want to be conservative, right? I want to be conservative, but in this case, we're going to use, let's just say the average right now. So $2,084, and all the units are identical. So we're going to put $2,084 in each of these, okay? Now, why do I only have 4 rental units? Because the type of real estate investing that I teach is actually duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. Once you get to 5 units or more, that is considered a commercial property, and that's a different lending and financing process. But the average American can actually go buy a duplex, triplex, or fourplex and benefit from the benefits of multifamily real estate investing. Okay, and so this is why there's only slots for 4 units right here. Now, there also may be other revenue. So you may have a washer and dryer that you get revenue from. You may charge for parking. There's other ways to create revenue from a property. And so that is there. But right now we're going to leave this as 0. Okay. Now, every city is different, but like in my triplex in Brooklyn, New York, I have to pay for heat and hot water, right? So you have to see what utilities you are responsible for as a landlord in your city. So here in Atlanta, we're not responsible for anything, right? So that's going to fall back on the tenants. Now, why do I have $50 here in other expenses? Because if you have grass, that needs to be cut monthly. If you are in the Northeast or in a place where there's snow, you're going to need somebody to shovel the snow. And so we're going to put a budget there for other expenses that come up with a property. Now, these are the 4 most overlooked numbers that many people forget. And these are the reason why you can't just say, oh, well, the rents are greater than the mortgage, there must be cash flow there. No, that is not the case. It is because of these numbers. And you can see that these numbers total up to 30% of your rental revenue. So what are they? The first one is property management, okay? Property management. I'm going to spell that out for you. Property management. Property management can be anywhere from 5 to 10%. So if you are investing from a distance, you may have a property manager who then you pay 10% of the rents to. Okay, that is their fee for handling everything for you and keeping things off of your plate. Right now, again, that rate varies. You can negotiate that rate, but right now we are going to just say that it is at 10%. Okay, now with in this kind of market. So like in a market where there's high rents, it's usually not 10%, right? It's going to be closer to 5% or something like that. But in a market like Baton Rouge or something like that, where I've owned property, is going to be higher because the rents are lower. It's got to be worth their while, right? So in Atlanta, I'm going to put 5%, okay? Now, what is CapEx reserve? CapEx reserve. These are your capital expenditures. So what includes a capital expenditure? Capital expenditures are things that you know are going to break eventually, but they are big expenses. And so they're going to happen every 5-10 years. So what would that be? The 5 most expensive things in real estate, the 5 most expensive things are 1, the bottom foundation, the top, which is the roof, and then the 3 things behind the wall: electrical, HVAC, and plumbing. Okay. So again, that's the foundation, the roof, electrical, HVAC, and plumbing. So we know that every 10 to 15 years, we're going to need a new roof, and that's going to cost $10,000. So we start setting aside a little bit of rent every single month in a separate account so that when that thing comes up, we can pay for it and not worry about it. Because if we're taking the cash flow and we're spending it for our personal lives and vacations and things like that, and then a big thing comes up like a roof, right? Then we don't have the money. So we set aside 10% of rent for capital expenditures. And again, these are going in a separate account because those expenses aren't happening month to month. We know that they're going to happen in these big chunks over periods of time. So we set aside that money. It's like a pre-savings plan, okay? And then we have a 5% vacancy rate. So we do not expect and anticipate our units to be occupied 100% of the time. People move for various reasons. Family sizes expand. People have kids and they say we need bigger space, or we're going to go own real estate now, right? So what is 5%? 5% is 1 over 20. So basically that's saying that 1 out of every 24 months, about this unit is going to be vacant. 1 out of every 2 years, this unit is going to be vacant, right? Just to be more accurate, 1 out of every 20 months, this unit is going to be vacant, right? And so we want to set aside money for that so that there's no issues paying the mortgage and other things when that happens. It's just a natural part of the game, right? When somebody moves out, you have tenant turnover, you got to clean this space. You might not be able to get somebody in within 30 days, right? It's not just a handoff. Somebody leaves and somebody else comes in. There's usually a 30-day period where somebody's moving out, you're doing fixes, you're marketing it, you have people come in and look at the apartment, you're having an agent show it, etc. So those things take time, right? And so hopefully you can get somebody in 30 days. That's the ideal, but sometimes it can take more, all right? Then we have 5% for repair reserves. Repair reserves are not the capital expenditures. That is a toilet's not flushing, somebody lost their keys or the lock isn't working. You have an issue with an outlet or something like that. So, and you need an electrician to come, or the washer and dryer is not working. These are repairs, right? And these happen all of the time. And we set aside budget for that. So there's no surprises. And it's not like we don't have the money for it when it's there, because we've been setting aside that money from the rents every single month. So this 25%. So a lot of people say, oh, well, Julian, if the rents are $8,336 and the mortgage is only where's the mortgage? We're about to get down to the mortgage. But somebody might say the rents are $8,336 and the mortgage is only $6,000. So we're good, right? That's a cash flow positive property. No, it's not, because we're setting aside $2,134 for these expenses here, right? We're setting aside $2,000. So you subtract that $2,000 from here, and now that's $6,000. That's $6,100 and something, right? $6,202. So this is why rents being higher than mortgage is not what qualifies something as a real estate deal. So be very careful when a real estate agent says, I have a deal for you. If they don't know what the cash on cash return is, if they haven't done this analysis, then they don't know if it's actually a deal, all right? So right now, our monthly payment for this mortgage, right? This mortgage of $1.399 million at 6.875% is $9,000 a month. So we're already taking an L, right? Because the total rental revenue at the average prices are only $8,336, right? Then we also have taxes. That's just the mortgage payment. That's principal and interest. But remember, these taxes over here divided by 12 months, that's equivalent to $2,427, right? Then we have to go get a quote for homeowners insurance. Insurance has been going up, so the insurance on this might be $400 a month. And then if you live in a place that has earthquakes, that has hurricanes, etc., you also have hazard insurance as well. In Atlanta, we don't have any hazard insurance, okay? So your monthly payment without private mortgage insurance, and private mortgage insurance is going to be required until you have 80% loan to value, is already $12,000, right? And you're only getting $8,336 a month, right? Then we have private mortgage insurance, and this percentage is going to vary based on your lender. But let's just say that your private mortgage insurance is 0.5% of the loan amount, okay? 0.5% of the loan amount over 60 months, which is 5 years until it gets to 80% loan to value and you can refinance. That 5% of the loan amount, right, is that 0.5%, half a percent, excuse me, is going to be another $472 per month just to protect the banks. Now, of course, the banks got bailed out when there was the housing crisis, but the individual doesn't get bailed out. So the banks are trying to protect themselves with this thing called private mortgage insurance, right? And so now when you add that $472 to your monthly payment, now you're at $12,491, right? Now, we also want to look at what are the repairs that need to be done, okay? Vacancy, painting, locks, appliances, deep cleaning, pest control, etc. These are repairs that need to be made. But now, after we've done all of this, after we plug in all 23 numbers, now we see that the cash flow on this property that has $8,336 in monthly rental revenue gross is actually negative $6,000 a month. Now, somebody may end up buying this, right, and say, look at me, I'm a multifamily homeowner now. But the reality is that it's actually going to cost them significantly because they didn't know how to run the numbers. And based on their $83,000 or $84,000 that they put in, That's a negative 51% or 52% cash on cash return. In multifamily real estate investing, we want at least a 10% cash on cash return. We want at least a 10% cash on cash return, right? But then there's other benefits of multifamily real estate investing that are going to include tax savings, right? Principal pay down, and you see all of that here, and the appreciation. So ultimately, if this 3% appreciation holds up over 30 years, this could be a $3.7 million net worth change for them, even though the cash flow was negative. This is why cash flow is not the only factor that applies to evaluating a multifamily real estate deal. A lot of people buy multifamily real estate simply for the tax savings and principal pay down and the appreciation. But the question is, could this person even bear losing $6,000 a month for 30 years? Right? So we never want, even though this long-term number may make sense, we never want to be in a position where we are losing every single month. And so we look for at least a 10% cash on cash return. So what would the price of this property have to be for us to get a 10% cash on cash return? And this seller is going to have difficulty selling this at the price that they want, because to get to a 10% cash on cash return, this property at these interest rates, even at $600,000, this is not cash flow. $400,000. Oh yes. So actually, when we change the price, let's say if we go back to here, let's say it was at 450,000, and we change the taxes back to 9,000. What were the taxes? Let's say they just say we want to sell it at what it's currently assessed at. All right. So if I put that in there, and then therefore the taxes don't change. Let's see if it cash flows here. Yes, of course. Now we're at a 46% cash on cash return. So they're definitely not selling it at that. So let's say if it doubles to 900,000, and then the taxes double to around 18,000, negative 21% cash on cash return. So this seller is going to have difficulty selling this property at the price that they want to sell it at. So now let's look at whether you should purchase or pass this deal. You already know, based on our analysis, that it's a no. But here in step 11, it shows you, right? So you can afford $500,000 or $95,000. I'll show you that in just a second. If you were to find a multifamily that generates about $8,000 a month in rental revenue. And then the price of this property is 1.4. So it's a pass. That's a hard no. Cash on cash return greater than 10%? No, it's negative 51%. Monthly rents over price greater than 1%. I told you about the 1% rule. It's half. Operating expenses less than 50%. No, they're at 60%. We didn't go over cap rate, so I'll skip that for right now. And your cash reserves at least 4 months after purchase. No, 1 month. So this is a hard pass on all fronts. Okay. Now, sometimes you may get 2 greens and 4 reds, or you might get 4 greens and 2 reds. Those you want to dig into a little bit more. You may see that a particular property has appreciation potential, and therefore you still decide to buy, even if it has low cash on cash return, because of all of the other benefits that come from multifamily real estate investing, right? Now, how much can you afford? If you were to buy a single family, right? If you were to buy a single family with this kind of mortgage, you obviously couldn't afford it. You only make $6,000 a month, right? And the mortgage for this home is $12,000. Then you also have your debts of $1,600. So your front end DTI is way greater than 31, right? It's at 199, and the back end is at 225, and we need it to be at 43. So how much could you afford in terms of a single family home to stay at the 43? Well, the reason I got $1,085 as your mortgage is because if we take your front end, right, which is the mortgage by itself, then we add in your other debts, and we divide that by your income to get your back end DTI. This is 43%. So the bank would really only be able to loan you, or willing to loan you, up to $1,085 a month. So what kind of mortgage is that? The mortgage total amount would be $165,000 with a 3.5% down payment of around $6,000. You have $29,000. So the answer is yes, you could make that down payment. So when you add the down payment and the maximum mortgage amount, you could only shop for a home that's priced at $171,000. So when you go to Trulia and Zillow, you would have to literally make that your criteria in terms of price. No max over 200 would have to be your search criteria, right? And then your reserves, you would have $23,000 after the down payment. That is not including closing costs. Then 6 months reserves would be, for this mortgage, would be $74,000, and you only have 23, so you have 2 months of reserves, and that does not meet your 6 month reserve requirement. All right, that's typically what the banks want. So now, if you run it as a multifamily and we're able to take advantage of 75% of the rental revenue, right? Now we take this 6,000 and we also add in another 6,000, because 75% of $8,336 is around $6,000. So if you find another multifamily that has about $8,000 in rental revenue, now your monthly gross income to the bank is around $12,000, right? For this particular mortgage, the mortgage is still the same. You still have your debts. So the debt to income ratio, it drops by 100%, but it's still at 99. We need the front end to be at 31, right? So that's a no. The back end is at 112. We need it to be at 43. That's still a no, right? But watch this. Your monthly mortgage amount, now you're able to qualify for a mortgage amount with $8,000 in rents coming from a property. You're able to qualify for a monthly mortgage amount of $3,773. Right? The total mortgage would be $574,000. A 20% down payment or 3.5% down payment would be around $20,000. You have $29,000. So yes, you could make that down payment. So when you add these two up, the total price that you could shop for in terms of a multifamily, with you making $6,250 a month, you having $1,600 a month in debt, and you finding a property that generates around $8,000 a month in rental revenue, means that you could qualify for a property for about $600,000. So you would come here and you would put no max at $6,000. And of course, when you're on Trulia, Zillow doesn't have this feature, I don't think, but on Trulia, you can check multifamily. All right, that's how I found this property. And I also want you to put your city, put your price point, put multifamily, and then save this search, and then it'll start sending you alerts that fit that criteria. Now, the reserve amount at this kind of mortgage would be $74,000 for 6 months reserves, but you only have $8,000, so that's only 1 month of reserves, not even 1 month, so you don't meet the 6 month reserve requirement. All right, so that is the full detailed analysis of how to run the numbers on a multifamily real estate deal. As you can see, it's way more complex than what people make it out to be. I just want to make sure that you buy right on your first deal. And the most important number that you need to know how to calculate is cash on cash return. And that is what we got right here. You get the actual dollar amount and the actual dollar in terms of monthly cash flow, and you get the cash on cash return. The stock market grows at about 7% per year annually. And so if we can get a 10% cash on cash return, and then we add in the tax savings, the principal pay down, and the appreciation, literally your first multifamily real estate deal could be a 20% return, with only 10% being cash on cash and the other 10% coming from the tax savings, the principal pay down, and the appreciation. Sometimes I bought properties where the appreciation was the actual real gain at the end of the day over the cash flow, because I bought right. I bought in the right neighborhood. And so I teach these things in my program called the Multifamily Master Plan. I'll show you how to finance, find, and finalize your first multifamily real estate deal and literally start living for free. I've helped over 900 people close on their first multifamily home. That's over $350 million worth of real estate that my students have acquired. That's $1/3 of $1 billion. So we're doing this in real life. We've done this in just over 5 years, and we're going to continue to expand. And so go ahead and download this deal analyzer, the purchase of past deal analyzer spreadsheet, multifamilymovement.com/deal analyzer. Test it out on a deal for yourself. And if there's a way that I can help you on your journey to acquire your first multifamily home and create regenerational wealth and get to rent and mortgage freedom, because that's ultimately the goal, then I would love to help you. All right. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to doing some more of these when I get some deals that come across my desk, just so that you can get in the habit of doing these. My students, they analyze about 2 or 3 deals a day, and you're just going to get better and better and better at it. Okay. But financing the deal is not the hardest part of the game if you think it is. Running the numbers is challenging, but you're going to get better and better at it. The hardest part of the game is finding the deal. And finding the deal, we typically don't find deals on Truly and Zillow. We like to find off-market deals. How do you find off-market deals? You do that by building your real estate Rolodex. So off-market deals come from knowing owners, knowing multiple agents, not just signing a contract with one agent. It comes from contractors. It comes from wholesalers. It comes from relationships. Real estate is a contact sport. You have to be in contact with people and properties. And that's what we teach you how to do in the multifamily movement. And this is why so many of my students have got to the finish line. So I just want to make sure that you don't buy wrong, because if you buy wrong, you're going to be stuck in a real estate deal for a very long time until it appreciates. And when it appreciates, you may break even and you have to start all over again. And I don't want that for you, right? I don't want you to go out here and just buy anything and all of a sudden you're losing $6,000 a month just because you wanted to be a multifamily real estate investor. No, the name of the game is to be cash flow positive. Buying right means that there's instant equity, that there's at least a 10% cash on cash return, and there's definite appreciation potential. If you fit those 3 criteria, you are in the game, right? And you need your first deal to be sweet, because that puts you in position to get the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. All right. So multifamilymovement.com/deal analyzer, and I will catch you later. Much love, y'all.